Hello and welcome once more to Cafe Barbara in Cobham, Stoke-Davenant, just a stone's throw, or maybe a Sunderland long throw from the Chelsea training ground, where we were dissecting once more Enzo Maresca's pre-match press conference ahead of the game against Spurs. And, well, I'm afraid he's got back on some familiar themes, because Chelsea have been doing some familiar things during this week, and one of those was yet another red card for Liam Delap, and Enzo Maresca was asked about Delap's reaction to that, and revealed that he had apologised immediately in the dressing room after the game. Fortunately, it didn't cost Chelsea this time, but you wonder whether at some point it will.
I think it will fairly soon. I mean, there's so many that, they went for a long stretch where they couldn't win with 10 men. Now then they started winning with 10 men, and they were sort of getting away with it a bit. But Maresca's come out and said, I want to tell them properly, just to do the right thing, explain things. I'm not going to punish them. But you do wonder how much longer it's going to go on until he starts. They all pay their own internal fines, but he starts clamping down on one. Liam Delap's one at Wolves was so foolish to come off the bench.
Yes, it's silliest of the lot. We're getting remember the scale we had the other week of not silly and sort of Nicholas Jackson silly. We're getting.
He's challenging Nicholas Jackson for those ones. I think that's
just
come off the bench and do two like that off the ball. The second one, especially when you're already on a yellow, to jump up and throw an elbow in like that was ridiculous. And I think especially when we're in the situation now where you've got João Pedro made such a good start but struggling now with form and fitness, playing through an injury, which in the Premier League and all the other competitions he's having to play in because he's the only real senior striker they've got, is not ideal. For Delap to come back in, be the hope for kicking on and having some options again, and then to come in and do that really doesn't help his position. New club, he's not scored for the club yet in a competitive match. To come in and do that, not a great look when they need you back for days like that, weekends like this as well.
Not entirely unexpected. I think, again, he's still a young player. He's certainly 22, and in fact I think he got 12 yellow cards for Ipswich last year, which is like one for every Premier League goal he scored. So Chelsea knew what they were buying. It comes with it, and he's combative, and he has to fight against the centre backs for the right to play. And on Wednesday night he fought too much. You have a certain amount of sympathy for him, because you can imagine that after 10 weeks out injured at your new club, you want to come on an impression. Yeah. And in that half an hour, if you're not going to score a goal, you want to show to your manager, to your fans, that you're back and ready. But he was too back and up and ready. I mean, Maresca sort of qualified a little bit about what he said about the Delap not listening.
Almost, not listening.
Yeah. What he meant was that once he's on the pitch, he's
tunnel vision.
Yeah, he's in the zone. It's not that he doesn't care.
You probably should be able to do both, though. If you're a professional footballer,
you should be able to. But the other point Maresca made was that I think some people, he was saying, well, when I say there's no problem, you have a go at me, and then when I come out and he was very forthright, more forthright about the Delap red card than he's been with any other this season. So when I'm like that, you say, oh well, maybe I'm being too hard on him. I think the point Maresca was keen to make was because he's worked with Romeo Lavia, Cole Palmer and Liam Delap at City when he was there, Man City. He knows them better than he knows the others,
and he probably feels he can challenge them a bit more than some of the other players.
Yeah, he feels that they can take it. They know what he's like, and they know that he'll only be hard on them when he feels it's necessary. It's not just on a whim. So I think
you've just got to hope they're going to start to listen, because it is becoming one too many, and it causes a problem for this weekend. Of course, you've taken out. We've mentioned that Pedro is struggling. You've taken out another option. I don't think we would have seen Delap start at Tottenham.
No,
it's the biggest game of this cluster of three. We went in thinking after Sunderland, big few games from Maresca. Really, you're never far away from being in trouble at Chelsea. They've got through Wolves just about eventually. Spurs is the big one out of Wolves. Tottenham, Qarabag, that's the significant one, and you've lost an important option for that, especially someone that, and I think it's going to be a big factor in this game. You mentioned the Sunderland long throw. They conceded from another long throw at Wolves that that built up to one of Wolves' goals, and Delap is a big figure, somebody that can help defend those.
Because at both ends. Yeah.
Outside of the back line, Chelsea don't have too much height in their team at the moment. You need a few back there, and it's something that they're going to struggle with again, and something that Maresca was asked about, wasn't it, dealing with the set pieces?
Yes, because we know from Thomas Frank's time at Brentford that they were maximising marginal gains, lots of set pieces, and Keith Andrews just carried that on. But it's clear that Frank has tried to bring a bit of that to Spurs, and there was all the debate Maresca saying last week, "Oh, Sunderland surprised me with their lineup." Well, it will be no surprise if Frank plays a back five.
Has Kevin
And
Danso
has Kevin
cannoning
Danso,
those throws into the box.
Absolutely, why not? But especially bearing in mind that from, albeit not from long throws, but they scored twice from set pieces.
At Everton,
last weekend with Mickey van der Ven, much to my son's delight because he's got him in his fancy team. A clean sheet, 2 goals. What more do you want? They've got to do something, and Maresca said, "Yeah, of course we're working on it." But he seems sort of almost kind of fatalistic about set pieces because Chelsea have got a very good record scoring from them.
Yes,
it's
they have. Yeah.
If we weren't strong enough, if we weren't aggressive enough, then we wouldn't be scoring from them. And it's just like, well, this is what happens in modern football. There are set pieces are important.
Almost,
you're going to concede from them. But again, the equaliser last weekend against Sunderland, they had enough time to come back and break down.
Yeah, I don't think it's defending the initial set pieces that it's their problem. It's almost reacting to the second ball.
It's the second
that
ball.
Desire and aggression, or maybe intelligence of where things are going to go. That's the thing that needs to be working on. That's definitely something that Tottenham will feed off. And I think the other problem, and Frank only needs to have watched the Sunderland game and will have watched the Sunderland game, is that if a team is sitting in tight, and Tottenham fans might not love it if that's the approach they take at home to Chelsea, but if they sit in tight and they're regimented, Chelsea are struggling to break teams down now as well.
No, and that's probably where we're starting to see the effect of the absence of Cole Palmer. They scored 5 goals at West Ham without him on the pitch, but
that's West Ham.
That's West Ham, and I've been thinking about it. We've spoken about this before. That the Liverpool winners, their first complete, probably only complete performance, a complete 90-minute performance of the season, and against decent opposition, albeit that Liverpool were going through difficult times.
Yeah.
And Spurs, obviously Spurs, went out of the Carabao Cup in midweek, whereas Chelsea went through. So Spurs have got a very poor recent Premier League record, almost as poor as the weather now. So if you can hear the rain, the rain pouring now, it's proper autumn now. But this is going to be a real test, as you said, of this little cluster of games. It's the biggest one, obviously. Spurs Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's always been going big history of these games being important. But if Spurs are on their game, then it's going to be a real test of Chelsea's ability to both defend against those set pieces and to create. I mean, Maresca was joking because he knew it's the standard question he always gets. How is Palmer?
Yeah.
Is he on course? And he said, I just saw him at breakfast in the canteen, and I said to him, I'm going to say you're going to be ready for next week. But again, he seems very sort of calm about that. It's going to take as long as it's going to take.
The thing is, he's got a lot of options to try and solve the absence, but I don't think we've quite fallen on what the best one is in terms. Sunderland was definitely the first game where I sat there and thought they are really missing someone like that, because they had very little imagination. They were just singing crosses in, and if they resort to that against Tottenham with someone like Van der Ven at the back, they're going to struggle to create chances like that again. So it's hard to identify what the best formula is really to solving that absence without Palmer there, especially if Pedro isn't quite on it. I prefer to see Enzo Fernandez, I think, maybe in that number 10 role at the moment, with Caicedo and Lavia behind him. But the options are there. It's just trying to work out which is the best one to break Tottenham down, and that's going to be the key, I think. If they can solve that creativity side, probably someone like Esteval you'd look to at the moment. Gittens put in an encouraging performance.
That's what I was going to say. The other thing that Maresca was asked about was about the left wingers. And obviously Garnacho got his first goal for Chelsea against Sunderland, but if we're being honest,
offered a lot at all.
If we're being honest, didn't really kick on from there and do much else in the game, particularly when it was needed after Sunderland had equalised. Gittens, after getting pelters from a few Chelsea fans quite early on for some of his performances, and to be fair, Maresca hasn't been exactly complimentary when asked about him, but he was player of the match in the Ajax in the Ajax game. Probably perhaps slightly fortunately, but nonetheless did do well. And I think, albeit it was against Matt Doherty, who's it's fair to say he's not in his prime anymore.
No.
But it was Gittens showed that kind of line-breaking ability. I mean, he's been signed.
Yeah, and the confidence to take that shot on as well.
Yes, he's been signed to give Chelsea the same sort of dribbling penetration on the left that they had on the right last season from Madueke, and they hope to have from either Neto and Esteval this weekend. To have have that on the left, and to have that was to see that in effect with that, the step over and just gaining that yard, square ball across the target.
I suppose the only thing you hope now is that they've chopped and changed so much, and Maresca said we need to rotate. But after doing that goal, a few assists and a good night all round for Jamie Gittens, would you be surprised to see him dropped at the weekend?
I know, I wouldn't at all. But I think, what do I know?
Yeah,
that's why I'm here and not actually giving the press conference. But you would think, given the way Gittens played in that game and the confidence it takes to take on that shot.
Yeah,
I mean, let's just face it, 9 times out of 10. It doesn't go in, but to turn around and first time on the spin, just hit that ball in. That's the sort of thing it's the sort of moment that can not change a player's season, but really kind of help them cross the threshold. Think actually, no, I can do this, because I'm sure Gittens is will be aware of what some people have been saying. Is he really an upgrade? Why have we paid this much money for him? And it's going to take a while for a player from the Bundesliga to adapt to the demands of playing in the Premier League, where so many more of the games are so much more competitive than if you're playing for Borussia Dortmund, one of the top teams in Germany.
They just need to capitalise on that confidence now, really. Yeah, I think keep him in the team and keep him running at people.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the case, and I think we talked about Maresca really laying into Delap for the red card. I think there's got to be a bit of a treat them mean, keep them keen.
Yeah.
But I think with Gittens, I think you play him against Spurs, and then you hope that Garnacho is upset enough from being dropped after scoring his first goal against Sunderland the previous week, that when you bring him on, it makes a difference. And I think that's the other thing that Maresca needs to show again, and it has worked for him against Liverpool and in some other games this season. Is if it's not working, that the substitutions he makes do change the game, and I would say it's a really big one for Chelsea tomorrow at Spurs, and how they come out of this I think will tell us a lot about Chelsea's capacity to, I don't think challenge for the league, but to keep up there. Yeah, but to be quietly confident of being top 4 and being able to try and pick up a trophy.
I think we just have to pray that he does work out the creativity, because otherwise, if Tottenham are keen to sit in and Chelsea can't break them down, it's not going to be a fun watch.
Yeah, it's not going to be a 7-goal thriller like Wednesday night, or indeed the game the game last year. Where
fingers crossed for one more of those, I think.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But can we have a night of late goals? I'm sick of doing late goals at Chelsea games. It's just too many rewrites. So let's have some calm and control on Saturday against Spurs. That'll make life a lot easier.